بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا واجعل العلم حجة لنا لا حجة علينا آمين. So this is the session 4 from the Tadreeb Assalik training of the wayfarer for the nearest pathways in the madhab of Imam Malik, and the PDF, the PowerPoints and the project has been initiated by Sheikh Naif Ibn Abdurrahman al-Sheikh Mubarak, and we have his permission in these classes or these sessions of Malik al-Fiqh. And he has a YouTube channel called Faqih Nafsaka fi Fiqh al-Maliki, which means that learn the Fiqh al-Maliki by yourself, have a self-learning, self-training from the Maliki madhab. And the translation that we're using also is a translation of Sheikh Rami Nasur, which is a project to translate the book in whole. May Allah give him the strength and the power to finish it. Amen. So let's start. We stopped yesterday at menstruation, and then after that we start prayer. Okay, Bismillah, Fadal Majid.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. يقول المؤلف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وعلومكم. فصل في الحيض. الحيض دم أو صفرة أو قذرة خرج بنفسه من قبل من تحمل عادة، فالمبتدأة تغتسل إذا انقطع أو غربت الشمس من يوم 15، والمعتادة تغتسل إذا انقطع، فإن تمادى زادت 3 أيام على أكثر عادة لها، ومن عادتها 14 تزيد يوما فلا زيادة على 15 لأنها أكثر الحيض وأقل الطهر، ولا حد لأكثره، وأقل الحيض في العبادة دفقة.
MashaAllah, this is a very strong summary of the cases of haid, menstruation for women. It makes things easier to regulate in terms of fiqh of haid for women. So it says that haid, definition of the haid is menstruation. The menstruation period for women is either blood or yellow discharge or a dingy colored discharge. A dirty colored discharge is not really red, but see that is not clean. So that this substance coming out by itself, right, is not out of surgery or out of sickness, is a natural process coming out by itself out from the front part of a woman, the private part here, of a woman who is able to become pregnant. So if that discharge came from a child, is not haid. If it comes from a lady who's does not become pregnant anymore, old lady, that's not also haid. And if it comes from out of sickness, that's not also haid. So how do we regulate haid, the menstruation of a woman? He said that you have two cases. You have the mubtada'a, the beginners, a woman that this is her first period. She does not have a regulated time. She does not know yet what is my time, how long my period lasts, and how long my purity. So she's a mubtadiya, she's a beginner. So when the blood comes for the beginners, she performs a ghusl if the blood ceases, right? When the blood stops coming, gushing, that's the end of her period. Or if the blood does not end, it keep going up to 15 days. When it reach 15 days, she make a ghusl and she start praying, reading fasting, doing whatever ritual she has to do. So that's because the maximum days of period is 15 days. So the beginners, when the blood stops, or when up to 15 days. Now, the second is a woman who has already had a period. She is a mu'tada. She know by experience how long her period ends, and how long her tuhur lasts, for example. So mu'tada, the experienced woman who has a pattern in her period, she performs a ghusl when the blood stops. If the blood stops, she performs ghusl, and usually it stops according to her period trend, a period pattern. But if the blood keeps going, she adds 3 days to her longest normal cycle. Let's say that a woman who has already had period, and by experience, she knows that a period lasts, let's say, 5 days. And then the 5 days comes and the bloods keep coming. She does not know, it did not stop that time at 5 days. She add a period of 3 days to her normal cycle. So if she add, and then after that, she make her ghusl. She must have ghusl and period stop. But if her normal cycle is 14 days, she know by experience that her blood is 14 days. In this case, she add only 1 day, because by adding 1 day, it would be 15 days, and there's no hide more than 15 days. So she add only 1 day to a normal case, a normal cycle in this case. For there's no increase, there's no more than 15 days. 15 days is the maximum days of height. Go ahead.
ويمنع من التمتع بالوطء بين السرة والركبة ومن الصوم والطلاق ومما تمنع الجنابة إلا القراءة عن ظهر قلب.
So menstruation period, when women are in a period, there are things that they cannot do, or they cannot do in couple, or they cannot do themselves. So a man, her husband in this case cannot have an intimate contact with her in between the navel to the knees of that woman. So if she's in a period, the couple still can have intimate contact, but that intimate contact has to be in other than what is between the navel and the knees. And also, she cannot fast, and her husband also cannot divorce her during the menstruation period. And the period also prevent whatever janaba prevents for your staying in the masjid or fasting, except reading the Quran from memory. She can still read the Quran from memory, but the person who has janaba still cannot read Quran from memory. Go ahead.
I think, Imam, there is a mistake in the translation at this point. In the Arabic, it says "wat-talaqa," and in English says "at-tawaf." So maybe we'll notify Sheikh Rami.
Yeah. So which is also yeah, maybe it depends. I don't know if he had the same copy, but it makes also sense. I think that the tawaf should also be mentioned here, because with janaba prevent tawaf, right? But it makes sense, but it seems that here it should be talaq instead of tawaf. So I don't know if the Sheikh went to tawaf in thinking that it is what janaba prevent. But yeah, it would be great to let him know. Barakallahu fiqh.
جزاكم الله خير. قال والنفاس وهو الدم الخارج مع الولادة وأكثره 60 يوما، وهو في منعه وتقطعه كالحيض، فإن تقطع لفقت أيام الدم في حيض أو نفاس فقط، وعلامة الطهر جفاف أو قصة.
So nifas is another cases for women only, and this is a lochial blood, a postnatal, a blood that comes out after a woman has given birth. If the blood that exists during the childbirth or afterward, that's the blood that comes out during childbirth or afterward. So the longest, the maximum days of postnatal bleeding is 60 days. So if it goes more than 60 days, should make a ghusl and pray and fast. It does the normal act of rituals. So it is the ruling of postnatal bleeding is like menstruation, and according to when it's end and what it prevents. If the blood comes, keep coming in both menstruation and nifas, she add the days together and until she, so it is almost the same. But the sign of purity is either dryness for nifas and as well as for period haid, is dryness when she found that the private part does not have this blood anymore, or a substance of white like gypsum like substance coming out there, which indicates the purity, and that's a sign that her haid or her nifas has ended. And the dryness is known by inserting a piece of cloth to see if there is, if it come out without stain or trace of blood or dinginess. So now we are in prayer.
باب في أوقات الصلاة. قال فإذا زالت الشمس دخل وقت الظهر المختار، فإذا صار ظل كل شيء مثله غير الظل الذي زالت عليه الشمس دخل الوقت المختار للعصر وهو الضروري للظهر، فإذا اصفرت الشمس صار ضروريا لهما إلى الغروب، وبكمال الغروب يدخل المختار للمغرب، وهو بقدر ما تؤدى بعد تحصيل شروطها، وبغروب الشفق الأحمر يدخل المختار للعشاء إلى ثلث الليل، وهو وما قبله ضروري للمغرب، وبقية الليل ضروري لهما.
Okay, so that's the prayer time. Sorry, the translation is on the other page, but I will try to go with the translation from the Arabic text here. So prayer, so is following a pattern. Purification is a precondition for prayer, and time also is a precondition of prayer. So what are the prayer times? So it started by saying that whenever the sun move from the zenith, from the middle of the sun of the sky, you move a little bit. That's the zuhur time, the ikhtiyari zuhur time, the waqt mukhtar, meaning that the best, the optional time is not a daruri time for praying zuhur. Why did it start by zuhur? That's because Zuhur is the first time that the Prophet prayed behind Jibreel, the first prayer time actually, when the Prophet returned from the ascension from the Mi'raj, and Jibreel came, he started with him Zuhur first. And so Zuhur is the first time. So when the sun move a little bit from the zenith, that's Zuhur time, until the sun, the shadow of an object become equal to its own length, its own height, meaning that if you stand up in the middle of the sun and the sun move a little bit from the zenith, your shadow will move a little bit from you away if you are in the equator. But if you're not in the equator, you are in countries, places like here, north or south, you will, your shadow will not be around you exactly when the sun is in the middle. The shadow will be a little bit long to the left or to the right. Anyway, that shadow that is when the sun is in the middle, that's you don't count that. So when the sun move a little bit toward west, your shadow will extend a little bit. So when the shadow keep extending, it's still Zohar time until the shadow reach the length of your height, or any object that you put the shadow reach is that length. That's the time of Zuhur and the time of Asr start. So, but the Zuhur time that end there is the Mukhtar time, the best time, the optimal time of Zuhur. It ends there, and then Asr start when the shadow is the same length. So the Asr time is the Daruri time, the Mukhtar time of Asr, the optimal time of Asr is still a time for Zuhur, but it is a Daruri time for Zuhur. It means that if you have an excuse and you pray Zuhur after Asr has come, your prayer is Adha, is not Qada. Adha it is an actual prayer. It is not you making up prayer. And that's because for the Maliki, as we will see, Dhuhr and Asr share the time of ending. They don't share the time of beginning. They share the time of ending. That's because they are both prayer of day or during the day. And Isha and Maghrib also share the end time. They don't share the beginning time. So the beginning time of Asr is still a time for Zuhur, but the Daruri time for Zuhur. You don't delay it until you have an excuse or a need. So then the Asr and Zuhur, they both extended till the sun start to set. The horizon become yellow, sunset start. So when sunset start, that time is a Daruri time for Asr. Is a Daruri time for Asr and for Zuhur. So Zuhur Daruri starts from the beginning of Asr anyway, but extended till the redness or yellowness start to be on the horizon. So Asr and Zuhur share the time of ending. Now, the Daruri time ends when the sun set. So when the sun set, Asr or when the sun starts to set, Asr and Zuhur, the beginning of the sunset, Asr and Zuhur, Daruri and time ends. And when the sun finished setting, that's the optimal time of Maghrib, the time Mukhtar of Maghrib. And the time Mukhtar of Maghrib is very short. That's because the hadith of Jibril, when Jibril came and prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith, he prayed during 2 days. The first day he came and prayed at the beginning of the time, and the second day he prayed at the end of the time. And he told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, between yesterday and today, between these two, it is a time. So you have an expanded time of the prayer time. But for Maghrib, Jibril came almost at the same time during the 2 days. So Maghrib time is very short. That's why I say that the Mukhtar time of Maghrib, he said that the Mukhtar time for Maghrib is what only can be done, is the time for you to pray Maghrib prayer with bringing all the shurut, the precondition, making wudu, preparing yourself to pray and pray. So this you can put 15 minutes to that, or 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, according to how long you usually pray. Then when the redness from the sky start to disappear, thus when the redness in the sky disappear, that's the beginning of Isha time, the optimal time of Isha. Usually, it's not always the redness. Sometimes you have yellowness, sometimes you have, so anyway, it means that when the darkness starts to be on the sky, that's the Isha time, till when after the third of the night, if you have to divide the night from Maghrib to Fajr in 3 times, the first third time, when that time comes, thus with the end time of the Mukhtar, optimal time of Isha. And then Isha and Maghrib Daruri time extend to before to the whole night before Fajr, till Fajr time comes. And this is what the translation is. Sorry, the translation was not on the same page. Barakallahu fiik. Go ahead, Majid.
قال فعلم اشتراك الظهر مع العصر والمغرب مع العشاء، وتختص الأخيرة بقدرها من الوقت، بمعنى أنه لو زال العذر من دم أو كإغماء ولم يبق من الوقت بعد الطهر ما يسع ركعة بسجدتيها بعد الأولى، اختصت به الأخيرة وسقطت الأولى. فإذا طلع الفجر الصادق دخل الوقت المختار للصبح، وهل هو للطلوع أو للإسفار الأعلى، ثم يكون ضروريا لها إلى الطلوع قولان.
So it says that we knew it is we have known from that Zuhur and Asr share time, right? They don't share the beginning time because you don't pray Zuhur before, you don't pray Asr at Zuhur time unless if you're traveling, but they share the ending time. And Maghrib and Isha also share the ending time, but in a case that تختص الأخيرة بقدرها من الوقت. So which it will explain بمعنى أنه لا زال. In the case that if you have an excuse, like a woman who was having her period, or a person who passed out, he fainted, and then that person woke up, let's say in the time of Maghrib and Isha. Let's say a woman had a period that lasted, Maghrib time came, the period is still there, till before Fajr, for Fajr Adhaan of 10 minutes, her period ended. Now, or for 5 minutes, a period ended. Now the time that she has to make wudu and pray, to make ghusl and pray, if she is and pray Dhuhr and Maghrib and Isha, that time would not be enough to pray Maghrib, a full Maghrib, and one rak'ah with two sajda from the Isha prayer. So if that is not enough to do that, the first time is this first prayer is waived. It means that the first Maghrib is not an obligation on her. She only pray Isha because her period ended when the Maghrib time ended technically. That's what this is about. And then he said that Fajr time, Dhuhr, Subh, Fajr time is when the Fajr Sadiq. The Fajr Sadiq is the twilight. So definitely not the civil twilight. It will be the astronomical twilight. And the astronomical twilight is when you are outside in the morning, you start to see the separation of darkness and light. The sun brightness start to be visible. You still can, if you look at the horizon toward the east, you can see that there is whiteness coming, and that's called astronomical twilight. And at that point, you still have, it's still dark outside. You still need light to move, but you sense that light is coming. So that's Fajr Sadiq. The Fajr Sadiq is extending toward the horizon, is not vertical, is horizontal. You have the zodiacal light that they call Fajr Kadhib. That light also appear in the morning, but this is vertical. It goes like the Prophet ﷺ says that, like the tail of a wolf. And actually, if you look at picture, it look like that in modern day. In astronomy, in modern day, scientists call it zodiacal light. So Fajr Sadiq, when the astronomical light start to come, that's the beginning of Fajr prayer, the optimal Fajr prayer time for Fajr. So, but there's a debate. Does Fajr time has a daruri or not? So, meaning that does the optimal, the best, the mukhtar time for Fajr, does it extend till the sun rises? هل هو للطلوع, the sun rises, not طلوع الفجر but طلوع الشمس, or it's the mukhtar time extend to the isfar. Isfar is the beginning of civil twilight, when people start to move without light, and usually street light start to shut off, and but you still see some darkness. The sun is not all up there, but you see light spreading. So that's isfar. I was at the end of the nautical twilight, and then the daruri time for Fajr is from there until the sun raises Tulu al-Fajr. There are two opinions in that. Okay, go ahead.
قال وتكره النافلة بعد صلاة العصر إلى أن تصلى المغرب، وبعد الفجر إلى أن ترتفع الشمس قدر رمح، ولا يجوز تأخير الصلاة إلى الضروري إلا من عذر كنوم وحيض، وهي فيه أداء، وفيما بعد الضروري قضاء، ولا يقضي من المعذورين إلا النائم والناسي.
So it says that it is disliked to make a nafila, a sunnah prayer, after Asr prayer till the sun set, till the Maghrib is prayed. So for the Maliki, there's no sunnah before Maghrib. The sunnah, for the majority, there's no sunnah after Asr. The scholars are unanimous in that. But for the Shafi, for example, there is sunnah prayer before Maghrib. When the Maghrib Adhaan is made, you pray sunnah before Maghrib prayer. But for the Maliki, there's no sunnah prayer before Maghrib. So it is disliked to pray sunnah after Asr till Maghrib prayer is done. It is also disliked, makruh, to pray sunnah after Fajr till the sun rises the length of to the extent of a bow length. That's almost 15 minutes, sometime 7 to 15 minutes after Shuruq, for those who follow apps. So you don't pray sunnah after Fajr prayer until the sun rises, which means that if you miss the Fajr, the 2 rakah of Fajr, you wait until the sun rises and you pray that. For here again, the Maliki is different from the Shafi'i. The Maliki is in accordance with the Hanafi here. The Shafi'i, if you miss the Fajr prayer, the 2 rakah of Fajr, the Sunnah Fajr prayer, after Salatul Fajr, the Subh prayer, you make your 2 rakah of Sunnah. But for the Maliki, no, you don't make it. You wait until the sun rises and you make it. But this dislikeness, makruh, is after is not. It become haram when the sun is rising, and the right point of the sun rising is not makruh anymore. It's haram to pray sunnah that time. But if it is fard, it is not makruh or haram, because you have to pray it anyway because you were late. Let's say that you woke up when the sun was rising, you don't wait, you make your wudu and pray. And then we saw that the time 2, you have mukhtar and daruri, ikhtiyari and daruri. The ikhtiyari is the best optional or optimal time for prayer. You don't delay your prayer to the daruri unless if you have udhr, you have an excuse. And that excuse is like you slept before the time, you slept until you were late, or hide for a woman in a period of menstruation. And if you have an excuse and you pray during the daruri time, your prayer is not a making up. It is a ada. It is a ada. But if it is after the daruri time, it will become a qada. You're making up. All right, you did not pray on time. You delayed your prayer. Now, those who have excuse, like a person who is sleeping, or a person who forgot, or a ha'id, a woman in a period, or a woman in nifas, those who have that excuse, they don't make up their prayer except the person who forgot or the person who was asleep. Meaning that that's a way of saying that the ha'id and the nufasa do not make their prayer. That's basically what he's saying here. If a woman has an excuse of haid and nifas, and the prayer waqt daruri passed, she does not make it up. But if a person slept or forgot until daruri time passed, he makes it up. And this is what is translated here again for just give short time for people to read, those who want to read the English part. Okay, so here the same, that's a continuous of the translation. Okay, here, go ahead, Majid.
باب في الأذان والإقامة. الأذان هو إعلام بدخول الوقت، ويجب في كل قرية، ويسن في كل مسجد، ولجماعة تطلب غيرها، ويندب لها إن لم تطلب غيرها في السفر وخارج البلد كالمنفرد.
Okay, so it says that chapter, the Adhan, the call of the Adhan and the Iqamah. The Adhan is, informing, it is declaring and proclaiming the coming of the time, that the time has entered. So it is an obligation, the Adhan is wajib in every village or town, and it is sunnah for every masjid, and it is also sunnah for any congregation, jama'ah, that seeks others to join them, that expect others to join them. It is sunnah to make adhan. But if you are in a congregation and you don't expect others to join you, it is not, it is recommended, it is mustahab, is not a sunnah anymore. Let's say that you're traveling in a group, we are going to a trip and we stop by a rest area or a gas station in the middle of nowhere, where we don't expect that there are Muslims there. So we don't expect people to join us. So it is just recommended for us to make adhan. It is not a sunnah for us to make adhan. For regardless we are traveling or we are in the town, if we're not seeking another another to join us, it is mustahab. Same thing, I'm praying alone in my house. I don't expect people to come and join me. It is also mustahab.
ويحرم قبل دخول الوقت إلا الصبح، فيندب في سدس الليل الآخر، ويعاد بعد طلوع الفجر، وهل السنة الأول أو الثاني قولان، ويجوز تعدده.
So it is haram to make adhan before the time before the time enters. In some countries, in during the anashid, there is the munshid can just sometimes make adhan, which is problematic because you're making adhan the time of prayer. So it is haram to make adhan before the time comes, except Fajr time, Fajr adhan. Fajr adhan, you can make the adhan before the time come. It is recommended, it is recommended to make the adhan of Fajr in the last 6 of the night. If you divide the night into 6 part, the last 6 part before Fajr, you start your Fajr adhan. And that's because of the hadith of Bilal and Ibn Maktoum, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that Bilal make the adhan at night, and you still can keep eating and drinking until you hear the adhan of Amr ibn Maktoum or Abdullah ibn Maktoum, would make it adhan for Fajr. And thus is not only for Ramadan, as many people may think. And this sunnah is still, I think that is still in West Africa. I don't know in North Africa, but in West Africa, people still do that. They still have the 2 adhan. Here in many other countries, it is only in Ramadan that it comes, but it is a sunnah. And then after the Fajr time comes, you repeat the adhan, you make the second adhan. But there's a debate, is it the sunnah, the first one or the second one? There are two opinions in that, and both are valid. And he said, يجوز تعدده, it is permissible to have more than one adhan, multiple adhan.
There is some part in the previous slide.
Sorry. Yeah.
وشروط المؤذن إسلام وعقل وذكورة وبلوغ أو اعتماد على أذان بالغ أو أمره.
So the condition for the one calling the adhan are, so the person who called the adhan must be Muslim, right? You don't want the non-Muslim who don't believe in the message to call for prayer for something that he does not believe in. It that's not good for him. It's not good for you too. And so it has to be Muslim. Islam, the caller must have Islam, and he also must have, he must be sound mentally. He has to be mentally sound, meaning that he's not mentally challenged, because it needs awareness of the time. And it has to be a male. So the adhan of a woman is not valid. I mean, for male, a male, always for male. And then I'm not sure if it is for women too, I don't know. But the adhan, so it has to be, for the adhan to be valid, it has to be a male. It seems that that's regardless if the adhan is given for women or for men. So it has to be mature, has bulugh, is mature, or even if it's not adult, he rely on an adult is guidance, or an adult adhan, or an adult command or order. Repeat that, do that, in this way it will be valid. Otherwise, a child adhan will not be valid for the Maliki.
ويندب كونه متطهرا صيتا في محل مرتفع، وحكايته لسامع بإبدال الهيعلتين بالحوقلتين، ويقول بعد الفراغ: اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت نبيك محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه المقام المحمود الذي وعدته. وفي صحيح مسلم: من قال حين يسمع المؤذن: وأنا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله، رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا، غفر له ذنبه.
So for the mandub, the recommended for the one calling the adhan is that he has to be in a state of cleanness. It has to have wudu. It has to have wudu and not also have be in a state of janaba. It has to be have a voice. It has to be vocal, sayyitan, have a strong voice, a voice that can go a long way. Now that we have a microphone, I'm not sure if that's a requirement anymore. And it has to go also be in a high place, because being in a high place allow your voice to go distance. That's in the time where there was no microphone. And then it is also recommended for the person who is listening to the adhan to repeat what the muazzin is saying, except the hayya ala salat, hayya al falah. When he say hayya ala salat, you say the hawqala, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, during the hayya ala salat and hayya ala falah. And when he finishes, you say Allahumma rabba hadhihi da'wati tamma والصلاة القائمة آتي نبيك محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته, the dua of Adhaan. And also another dua of Adhaan is that you say وأنا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا. When you say that, Allah will forgive your sin. And also another sunnah is to make salat ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Go ahead.
قال والإقامة سنة لكل فريضة ولو مقضية وهي سنة عين للمنفرد وسنة كفاية للجماعة ويحسن من المرأة إقامتها لنفسها سرا.
So the adhan is wajib with the condition that we have seen, but the sunnah, the iqamah is sunnah. The iqamah is sunnah for each farida, even if you are making them up, it is sunnah to make iqamah. But for the individual, the munfarid, the person who pray individually, it is sunnah to ayn, like fardu ayn is required individually from the person who's praying alone to make his iqamah. But it is a sunnah kifaya for the jama'ah, like fard kifaya. If there's a congregation, it is a sunnah upon them all. If one does it, all of them have the reward of the sunnah. And if no one does it, no one again will have the reward. They will not be punished, but they will not have the reward. And it is good for a woman to make. It is recommended or good for a woman to make iqamah for herself, but her iqamah must be secretly, not out loud.
والأذان موقوف مثنى وهي مفردة معربة ويستحب الدعاء بعدها ولا يفصل بينها وبين الصلاة وإن طال أعيدت.
So the adhan is given in couplets, meaning two. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah. So and then you stop, right? You take your time. You make it a little bit longer because the expectation is people are far, they're not in the masjid, they're not present, they will come. So you take your time in calling them, two, and stopping at each end. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah. But the iqama is 1-1, and mu'raba, you recite the ending i'rab. Hayya ala Allah Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, hayya ala salat, hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falahi, qad qamati salatu, Allahu Akbar, Allah, something like that. And it is 1-1 even for the qad qamati salat. Here again, the Maliki are different from the Shafi'i and the Shafi'i who make the qad qamati salat 2 times, and are different from the Hanafi who prefer repeating the adhan other than having an iqamah. And it is recommended to make a dua after the iqamah. And it is and you should not delay, separate between a long time between the end of the iqamah and the prayer. So after the iqamah is done, and the dua, quick dua is made, you just start, you don't wait. So if you wait for a long time, sometimes the iqamah is given, and for some reason we wait, in this case, to have the sunnah, we have to repeat the iqamah. And the iqamah has to be fast because people are already in the masjid and ready to pray. So that's the end for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. We stop here unless there are questions. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت